Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 66 of the Hideout, where we're going to be talking about Web3 gaming and the Metaverse. Got a good group today. I think we're still waiting to get one or two speakers on the stage, so we're going to work through that right now. But I guess if you are one of the speakers, send a request and we'll get you up here. Or if I see you in I think we have Wanderers here, so I'm sending an invite. Looks like we got you guys up here now, so that's good. All right, so I think we have three of our four speakers for today, so we can get into introductions, and then hopefully we'll have the last one join. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nick Frontera. I am the CEO of Apollo Entertainment, the company behind Satoshiverse and Legions 2029, which is our game that we have been working on for the past 2.5 years now with our team of around 20 people. We're really excited about this game. It is a hybrid between a hack and slash combat, high fidelity desktop game with a roguelike mechanic. It kind of combines elements of RPGs with more of a fast-paced arcadey combat experience. So if you haven't tried it out, what I'm actually going to do is I am going to pin to the top of the space some information about the game, including a trailer. That should give you everything you need to know. But the game is free to play, and we've got a bunch of tournaments going on right now where you can get lots of prizes. So check it out. The game is a desktop game, so you do need a desktop that's capable of playing higher fidelity games. But other than that, you just go to the website or to Hyperplay, which is a Web3 launcher, and you can download the game and play the game for free. You can create your own avatar. We've got a whole custom avatar creator with a bunch of different patches from our partner community. So real excited. We're doing a lot of stuff in our Discord. We're getting our community involved in the development. So a lot going on there. We were just at GDC. Got to demo the game for a big audience. Got some great feedback. So really excited about what's to come. But enough about us. Really excited to get into our partners and our guests are here today on the spaces. So what we'll do is I will call one of you and then just give a quick introduction, talk about yourself, what you're building. Feel free to post anything you want to the top of the spaces. You can just go to the little arrow up button on the post itself, and that'll let you share it to the top of the spaces. I always like to see, if you have like video or images that kind of get into what you're building. I think that's a great way of helping people see. But yeah, let's jump into some introductions. Why don't we start with Wanderers? Could you guys give us a quick introduction and let us know what you're working on?
Yeah, how's it going? I am the community manager over at Wanderers. My name's Yaikan. Happy to join today. But Wanderers is a sci-fi action roguelite. Oh, sorry about that. Dog's going crazy. But Wanderers is a sci-fi action roguelite with unique deck building elements. Our beta is launching very soon, and we have questing going on right now to upgrade the RAM bundles, which are basically cards that you'll use in the beta. But yeah, we're really excited, happy to be here, and pumped to talk about some Web3 gaming.
Amazing. Well, I'm definitely excited to learn more. I'm a big fan of card games and roguelike, so it's cool to see a hybrid there. So definitely excited to learn more. Let's go over to Game GPT. Could you guys give us a quick introduction?
What's up, Nick? Just wanted to say thanks for having me here and sending over the invite. Really happy to be on the panel with everyone here today and excited to kind of get into a discussion about some really cool things. My name is Devin. I'm co-founder at Prism, and we're building Game GPT. We've been in the space since 2020, so been building products in blockchain gaming for the last 4 years. Goal has always been to really be a technology-first company that really allows and lowers the barrier of entry of getting into blockchain gaming. We've done that in a few ways, but the most important one is Game GPT. It's our AI-driven game builder. It does just like it sounds. We are stringing together a series of blockchain tools and AI-driven open source solutions to allow people to create games in a much faster and more efficient way. Really happy to share everything that we're building and to talk to everybody about really just gaming in general today.
I love it. Yeah, and I will say that at GDC, the biggest topic I think was integrating large language models, AI, and just other generative tooling into game design, and I think we're going to see some pretty awesome stuff coming over the course of the next year from NVIDIA and some of the other big producers, and so it's awesome to see more and more use cases like yours incorporating AI in gaming, because even just doing some demos and testing some of the stuff out, it was pretty mind blowing what is being worked on. So really excited to see how that tech progresses and see if we can incorporate some of that into what we're building as well. So happy to have you on. Let's go over to Chibi Clash, who will be our last guest. Can you give us a quick introduction?
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Ted, CEO from Chibi Clash. First off, shout out to this panel. I'm very familiar with some of the speakers and projects here. Wanderers, I've had the NFT basically since Mint. It's great to see, you guys are building great gaming experiences. I've always loved the art. And of course, Devin, someone that I've known for a while, and true builders that have survived the bear market and are now finally taking things up a notch, with this momentum that we're seeing. And so myself, I was actually down at GDC as well. So we actually did a gameplay demo at the Wolves Den, which was a very, very popular location for people to spend time in during GDC. It was an offsite Airbnb where multiple gaming projects set up their demos there. A lot of very, very prominent people in the Web3 gaming space who were really just kind of passionate about getting everyone together in real life, and it was fun times. I've been to a good 6 or 7 GDCs, and I would say this past one was probably my favorite one. But with that said, I did come back with a bit of a cough and flu, so it happens in conferences all the time. So if I do cough during speaking, please do excuse my my cough.
I totally get it. I think the conference gauntlet is definitely real, and the cough is kind of the, if you didn't get a cough and flu, you probably weren't at the conference and talking to people. So means you did something right. I know we're on a 3-week sprint. We had GDC, now we have NFT LA, and then we'll be speaking at NFT NYC next week. So I'm trying to conserve my voice as much as possible because it's quite a sprint. And then I think some of the overseas stuff starts soon. I think we got Token 2049 in Dubai, and then Singapore and Korea. There's so much going on in this space, but it's exciting, right? Because every time you go to these things, you learn something, you meet awesome people, and my mind is blown just by how much we don't know in this space and how many awesome things people are working on, which is why we have these spaces. We're fortunate we get to meet awesome founders every week and talk about some cool stuff, and that often leads to some really cool collaborations. So really excited to have you guys on. Let's go over to Spencer and we can jump into the questions.
What's going on, guys? Yeah, my name is Spencer Vogel. I'm the business development manager here with Satoshiverse and Apollo Entertainment. Been working with the team for the last 3 years or so, and I'll be asking the questions on today's space. So getting into the format a little bit, we're going to be starting out with group questions. So I'll call on someone to start, and then feel free to just jump in from there to the conversation. Then we'll get into some individual questions for each of the guests, and then to some questions for the group at the end if we have time. And then lastly, we're going to be doing a giveaway as we do every week. So stick around if you're a listener until the end of the space to make sure that you have a chance to win one of our prizes. So awesome. Getting into it. And maybe, Devin, maybe you could start us off on this one. So how can we effectively educate traditional gamers and the broader public about the benefits and mechanics of Web3 gaming?
Yeah, I think this is a good question to open up with, and it's definitely through the bear market, one of the biggest narratives, one of the biggest things that was driven home is what about the next wave of adoption? How do we get people who don't know about blockchain to understand more about its uses, its usefulness, its benefits, its use cases in gaming, and to really kind of leave a trail of breadcrumbs into helping discover your game. But then on top of that, really try to understand all of the positive benefits that blockchain can provide and really take them through that decision-making process. I think there are a couple ways to do it, and I think what's best is for us to, or for me to speak about how GameGPT is doing it. From the beginning, we've always been focused around kind of this healthy competitiveness in gaming, and so all of our games, no matter what they are and how they're built, always function around this peer-to-peer wagering aspect or peer-to-peer competition aspect. And I think that lends itself a pretty easy solution in terms of how Web2 users can understand blockchain. And it's really the way that we're doing it is besides GameGPT, we have another tool that's actually been out for 2 years already, whereas the game builder is scheduled to be out end of Q2. And that tool is called Prism Challenges. And what it actually allows people to do is effectively conduct skilled-based wagers on top of some of the biggest Web2 games out right now. So League of Legends is a game that we're integrated with, and we have premier access to the Riot Games API. Also, Dota is another game that we're going to integrated with, and we're constantly adding new games into our challenge platform. And effectively, what it does is it allows you to conduct these wagers with someone that you know, and you can just send them a private link to a challenge, or you can actually host a challenge on our website and have everyone in the community join. All of these challenges are either free or pay to enter. And the way that these challenges functions is primarily through our token duel or through stablecoins. And what's really awesome is Web2 users who are actually using our platform to join these challenges actually aren't really aware of the blockchain usefulness and that it's a blockchain website and these challenges are fully done on the blockchain until they're ready for it, meaning that they can use PayPal or MoonPay or Stripe and plenty of other fiat on-ramps to effectively put in the USD to fund these challenges that they're entering. And at which point they wanted to cash out, they are effectively directed towards a decision of having the ability to cash out through fiat per usual in the way that they entered, or being able to cash out through crypto. And it actually goes through and really walks them through the process on why that is beneficial and maybe something that they're interested in. So this leaving a trail of breadcrumbs through effectively giving them an experience that they are first introduced to and really are bought in and are kind of trust the game that they're playing is the approach that we're taking. And then once we're really there, trying to make the integration process of having the ability to cash out the way that they're expecting, or perhaps to learn more and maybe even get incentives for them to effectively also have some type of Web3 compatibility is where we're approaching it from. So that is one of many ways that we're already kind of going into it. I think on challenges, we have about 100,000 registered active wallets, and we have around 4,000 daily active users on challenges. But I think that's going to rapidly expand once our GameGPT games come out with the wagering aspects, and that's scheduled to be in the next month or so. And then, of course, the game builder coming out about 2.5 months after that. So that's the short answer on how we approach it, but I would love to hear the rest of the panel as well.
It's you hit a lot of topics there that I think are really important and things that can kind of be grouped even a bit more into like what you were saying about this peer-to-peer aspect of the blockchain, right? And for decades we've had essentially trust-based systems where the infrastructure is pretty janky and you're going onto a forum, and if you want to bet on something or if you want to trade an item or if you want to have access to a marketplace for the games that you really like, you have to do so in a way that really isn't made for that. And I think part of the reason is because the game studios don't want to get their hands dirty with that, and they don't want to be responsible for a lot of the things that come with, having these peer-to-peer transactions on the regulatory side, on the infrastructure side. But I do think, the blockchain has the potential with the fact that it can be self-executing and it can be essentially a trustless system, for building, like you guys are doing, building a layer on top of existing games that really adds value. I think there's still a lot of questions, and if we have time, I'd actually be really curious, because I haven't dived too deep into kind of the direction that real money gaming is going in terms of wagering. I know that that's likely going to have some regulatory stick ups, and it'll be a bit more difficult on that front, given that we're worldwide and every jurisdiction has a different opinion on how you can do stuff like that. But I think that that's a very real use case, and something that can now be done in a trustless way. And I guess what I would add, kind of just from my general perspective, is that what you guys are doing, what we're doing, what I think most projects are doing now, that they may not have been doing 2 years ago when we started to kind of get this negative rhetoric around NFTs and blockchain gaming, is that we're finally starting to really focus on the use cases, right? We're finally starting to not talk about necessarily NFTs, but the fact that we're enabling open player economies, or like you guys are doing with the skill-based wagering on games that already exist. And if you can get the buy-in of the game producers and integrate with their APIs, that's just another level of integration that you're now creating a value add, a pure value add. And I think that if we're going to have blockchain become a thing, it has to be a value add. We can't just be convincing people that it is a value add. We have to create implementations that actually add value to the gaming experience. And then we have to talk about that value rather than just talking about the fact that it's on the blockchain. And, I think that because of the initial wave of people who supported Bitcoin and just the blockchain in general, even Ethereum in the early days, there was this kind of and there still is very much an ideological aspect to being on the blockchain, right? There's a very strong kind of your keys, your crypto, this whole narrative of we are doing something different. It's revolutionary. It's a new form of money, peer-to-peer transfers. I think all that is great, and I think there's a place for it, in gaming and outside of gaming. But I'm not sure that is necessarily going to help the narrative when we are trying to approach traditional, Web2 gamers who may not care about all that stuff. They may be more in the middle of the spectrum than I think, a lot of others who are already or have been in the space for many years, like a lot of us. So I don't think everybody is a maxi. So trying to kind of convince people on the maxi, dive fully in, buy Bitcoin, I think is a little bit harder. And I think in the early days, that's what we tried to do, right? And we tried to kind of make it all, this revolution. And I don't think it has to be a revolution. It's a tech layer that should add value. And I think as long as we are adding value, we can talk about that value, and that's going to help Web2 and just traditional, users understand. And so it sounds like Games UPT, that's exactly what you guys are doing, which I think is definitely the right way.
Wanderers or Chibi Clash, do you guys have anything to add to the conversation here?
Yeah, I just want to add that making things, if we're talking about just, I want to make sure I'm on the right question, but if we're talking about just kind of effectively educating traditional gamers and things like that. So I think a big thing is just making things simple and not forcing it on people. I have an example I like to use. My dad is a gamer, and the pirate game that just came out from Ubisoft recently, you had to link your Ubisoft account and your Xbox account and everything. And he actually couldn't do it. So he just was like, yeah, I wasted $75. So make it easy, go where gamers are, be on Epic, be on Steam if you can, type of thing. And then don't force the blockchain on them. Let them enjoy your game. get into it, let them be there for the game, and then ease them into that. I think that's, at least for now, that's the way to go. There may be a point where blockchain, asset ownership, all that's just synonymous with gaming. But I think for now, easing users into it's the way to go.
Yeah, nothing for me. I think you guys covered quite a bit there. Yeah, I mean, for us, obviously, we are focusing on applying innovative technologies to enhance gaming experiences, right? And so this is why we ourselves are diving a lot into the AI sphere as well. So if you go to our website and you enter Kingdoms, what you see is all generated by AI. And I think with AI, there's obviously a bit of education that is required, right? I mean, it's a word that gets thrown around so much, but for those of us that are building with AI, I think we realize that you can deploy something and get something out within minutes versus actually building stacks upon stacks of autonomous agents with existing models and technologies to create these experiences that otherwise would not be able to be created. And so I think definitely with kind of on-chain times AI, there needs to be some education for people to be able to tell, okay, is this actually something groundbreaking or is this something that's kind of fluff? But with that said, I think people are very much eager to learn and to be able to see how this whole sector is changing. So they're really excited about that.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So I know, Devin, you got to run in a few minutes, so we'll get to your individual question first, and that's very much kind of along those same lines as what Ted was just talking about there. But your question is, what impact do you think AI will have on the gaming industry, both Web 2 and Web 3?
Yeah, appreciate kind of being super accommodative to my time. I got to run here in a couple of minutes, but definitely wanted to touch the topic because I'm sure it's going to lead to further discussions. But yeah, in terms of how AI is going to change gaming, for traditional users or blockchain users, I'll try to keep it as general as possible. But there are two ways I'd like to answer that question. One is going to be, how is that going to change game development? So like the actual publisher side. And then the other way is like, how is that going to change the user experience of gaming? Is gaming as we know it going to change as well over time? The one, I guess, is like a short term, I guess, answer, and the other is like a long term answer. But I guess approaching it in more of the short term way, I think what AI is going to do, just like it does with all of the other industries that it's really affecting and making an impact in, is it's going to democratize access to a lot of people. The way that breaks down into game development is with the use of AI, the skill set and the really amount of hours you need to put into building your first game is going to drastically get reduced. And the ability to kind of democratize that access on getting someone to be able to build their first game is going to allow so much more creativity just from the sheer brain power that's going to be unlocked by so many people getting access to the tools to build their first game. The other thing it's going to do, obviously, is I guess if step one was democratize, the other one is demonetize. Whereas with the use of AI, it's the cost structure on how much of the team is necessary, how much of your game development process is dedicated towards artists, dedicated towards map builders, dedicated towards 2D and 3D people, dedicated towards developers, people in the economy, all of those things developing the game economy. All of those things are going to be drastically reduced, and LLMs and or AI tools, just like what we're building, are going to really help people make not only games a lot faster than they were built previously, but also made a lot more efficiently than previously. So that's kind of how I think it's going to, in the short term, really, really help people. I think it is going to be a huge thing where all gaming companies are going to have to figure out how to incorporate AI in some ways. Like I'm sure everyone else on the panel is already thinking about, and people who are kind of on the ball are going to do. And I think that's really just going to lead to existing games being able to be better and new games that we never even thought possible to be created. So that's kind of like my short-term answer and how I think that's going to be amazing. In terms of like the long-term answer, and I think this is going to get really philosophical, and like I would love to kind of see if everyone else agrees on the panel here, but whenever I think of the logical conclusion of like games being able to be built way faster, different type of games that were never been able to be built before are now able to do so. And we have just so much of the world's brain power unlocked because so many more people got access to the ability to build a game. I really think gaming turns into kind of like these AAA gaming studios that really build this linear story that's built for millions of people to more of like a personalized experience where game developers are really building almost like some type of base experience that you can go through that's actually more personalized based on what your preferences are and what you're looking for in a type of game. And I feel like that personalized experience is kind of where we're going to be in the 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 year timeline. It gets really hard to kind of predict when we're kind of switch from kind of like game curation to game personalization. But I really think that's the future, and that's really the idealism. That's really the type of future that we're building towards at Game GPT to allow people to kind of really be the first people to build these type of games and to allow gamers to live in that future. So yeah, that's kind of the high level for me. And yeah, I would love to hear what the rest of the panel thinks about that.
Yeah, I could definitely comment on that. I mean, I totally agree. I think that, you're already seeing it at a very basic level with kind of the integration of UGC layers into some of the bigger games like Roblox and Fortnite. And you can only imagine what a company that has built essentially an ecosystem or a world for people that's multi-platform, but then gives them the tools combined with AI to make that platform their own and to create different types of games and settings within that platform. I mean, you think about like Ready Player One and the idea of the metaverse and I think that gamification generally is something that people enjoy. I think that what we consider to be a game may very well change, right? We may just be experiencing things, and people who may not have traditionally been gamers may, in a sense, become gamers because every use case, in theory, could be gamified and made more effective. So we may be experiencing games that are super custom tailored to us and are simply there for the purpose of entertainment. And I think, that is, forget gaming, that's the future of entertainment, right? I don't think we'll go in to watch a movie and have it only be one script. I think we're going to have a lot more of, create your own adventure type of things. And whether that's actually taking the role of the game developer or just having such an expansive experience kind of with AI as a sublayer that, you're interacting through a normal interface where you're not really prompting it. You don't even know that you're prompting it, right? You're actually just trying to interact with the interface, but in a sense, it's being prompted and it's kind of adapting to your likes. And I think that's kind of what you were going for. I can give a very quick example of something I tried at GDC, which was really just a demo of a game that's coming, but it had a pretty like nice integration of a large language model with some of the NPCs. And even just that, sure, there wasn't a lot of gameplay to play right then and there, but you could dive really deep with their lore, with just an immersive experience with different personalities, just because they had some, large language models backing these AI NPCs within the game, and it made the demo infinitely more interesting than it would have been had it just been a canned script, with a that was developed. And yeah, I mean, the time to market's going to be way lower. I do think that there is still going to be kind of like a tiered infrastructure for experiences. I do think it will take AAA studios still to build out, at least in the time frame you were talking about, like 3 to 5 years, to build out these sort of massive worlds that then people can kind of pick their adventure. I do think there's still going to be a role for the really, really refined experiences. But I think what's going to be able to happen at a more basic level and what people are going to be able to create and even modify, right? Games may allow a whole lot more modding of their base layer, just using AI and ensuring things are compatible. And it's like, oh yeah, I like this game, but what if everything was unicorns instead of really scary monsters? Then my kid could play it, right? And maybe something like that would hit, and there could be a use case like that. So I agree. I guess I would say I agree, and I think that AI, we can't even predict what AI is going to do to the entertainment space.
Yeah, just wanted to say before we continue, thanks for having me on the space, Nick, and everyone on the Satoshiverse team. Sorry I had to jump out a little bit early, but always, I really enjoyed being here, and if you guys ever wanted to have another guest, send me a DM, and I'll always be happy to attend. And whenever we have a space going on as well, we'll definitely send some invites your way.
Absolutely, we'd love to have you on in the future, and thanks for joining.
See you, everyone.
In the meantime, Ted, it looks like you got your hand up. You have something to say?
Yeah, no, we definitely have a lot of insights on just where AI development is going, especially pertaining to Web3 gaming. And I'll share some of my kind of observations first before talking about kind of my personal thoughts, because I think we all have our opinions. And with even I was on an Uber, and the Uber driver had his opinion on where he thinks AI is going, right? So I think it's important to kind of get the grasp of what or not just what I'm observing, right, but just kind of seeing on the ground, especially when I was at GDC last week, what's happening right now. And so I think one thing that's undeniable, as Devin was saying, is that a lot of AI is now being utilized in the development process for games, right? And so as a direct effect, we're seeing massive layoffs with a lot of Web2 gaming companies. I mean, this is all over the news now. And so it's a kind of unfortunate vibe that I've sensed when I was down at GDC, is that a lot of the kind of big gaming companies were going through layoffs, and a lot of people were actually actively looking for jobs, right? But with that said, the sentiment is completely different on the Web3 side of things, right? We are all about innovation, all about looking at what are some of the ways in which we can apply AI and decentralization to create these new experiences, right? So definitely been seeing a lot of interesting projects talking about experimenting and utilizing AI within the gaming ecosystem itself. So one that generated a lot of buzz, giving a shout out to one of my favorite projects, Parallel. So there were a lot of talks about Parallel and deploying AI with Colony, and so I think that was kind of exciting to see. And other projects that I can't quite recall off the top of my head, but there were some interesting conversations around how AI can be deployed to create these new core game experiences, right? And then we're Chibi Clash, obviously we're one such project. We don't outright say we are an AI project, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all about delivering gaming experiences that we think will shift and be able to get people to think about, what, like my conventional thinking of what makes a game is different than what Chibi Clash is delivering, right? With that said, we have conventional gaming experiences, so people can jump into a website, start playing Clash Survivor, compete for leaderboards, earn points. But what we really hope to then introduce is the composability of the core gameplay into the metagame. And so we're excited about experimenting with the metagame of Kingdoms, in which the land can transform, because with AI, we're able to create this dynamic experience that I think, as you guys were saying, right, sometimes even as developers, we don't even know where things are going. And, without getting too technical on that part, it's because, we created the foundation and the rules of this game, but what we allow the AI to do, so I am referring to autonomous agents, that can lead to results that we can't predict, right? And so on the negative side, of course, we all saw what happened when Google tried to interfere too much with their model, and when they were prompted to Gemini was prompted to create an image of a kind of medieval king from 12th century England, and became very overly PC, and made Asian kings and Black kings, right? And so the interesting result from that was because they themselves didn't know the model was going to behave in this way, right? It wasn't because they asked the model to create those results. They would say that try to have representation with the output of these models, right? And so with game development as well, sometimes we create models and we try to get the agents to behave in a certain manner, but if you just let the agents to learn and run on its own, sometimes you might not be able to predict the results over time as well. But personally, I don't find that scary. That definitely excites me to be able to create experiences in which sometimes you just kind of let AI do its thing, but within the boundaries and rules of the games that you've created, right? And so that's kind of what we're working on right now. We want to create experiences in which we want to let the agents, NPCs, whether they be characters or even a kind of game master like in Dungeons and Dragons, right? To have abilities to affect and shape how the land evolves and how the game plays out. So, I'm personally super excited about the recent developments with AI and gaming, especially in our decentralized world. And so, I was excited to see what what projects will be shipped out in the months to come.
Awesome. Well, Ted, while I got you up here, we can do your individual question as well. And I think you might have gotten into it a little bit in your answer there, but if there's anything you left out, feel free to fill in the blanks. But so you guys, Chibi Clash has stated that you guys have the largest cohesive game map ever generated by AI. So I was wondering if you could explain exactly what that means and what impact you think land-based systems in general have on player economies.
Absolutely. So, give me a bit of context and background for how this was created. So, I was kind of alluding to, a lot of models are readily available for people to create gaming assets, right? But what does it mean to create an entire gaming world map with AI? And so we work really closely with a startup company, which is actually announced last week, our partnership with a company called Scripted. And so this is a startup that was founded by veterans from EA, Square Enix, and also guys that were Web3 native. And so they created this really, really cool tool initially called Auto RPG. And basically what it allowed them to do was create tiles upon tiles and layers upon layers of gaming assets that created this world map, excuse me, that can be used for a kind of very simple RPG. And so when we saw this tool and we were developing something in-house as well, we were like, you know what, like we're thinking very much along the same lines in terms of what we think Gen AI can create. So why don't we dive into doing this together, building this comprehensive roadmap for our universe and see how this will play out. And so our vision, excuse me, oh my God, the cough is coming back now. But the vision that we had was looking at some of the on-chain games that are out there, the autonomous world games. We had this vision of, okay, you know what? We've always wanted this meta game, right? We always wanted to build a kingdom in which our players can take part in and own as the warlords of our ecosystem and be able to be rewarded for this ownership and participation in the ecosystem. And so, wouldn't it be cool instead of doing a kind of a generic map where things could be a little bit procedure generated? It's been done many times before. I mean, I worked at Zynga previously, so going back to the days of Farmville and Cityville, I mean, it's kind of not difficult to create just a gaming world map where you have plots of land that can be upgraded. But what if that's all powered by AI? So what if, excuse me, instead of things that are procedurally generated, it can be dynamically generated, so that we ourselves, even though we train the models, don't know exactly what the result's going to come up with, right? So for example, we want to be a little bit creative, right? And so for those of you guys that watch Westworld, you have your kind of cowboy Western themed world, but then in the later seasons, which even I didn't watch, but they went to kind of more futuristic cyberpunk or samurai. And so we can do that with our world as well. So we might not know exactly how that's going to play out, but we can tell a model, you know what, with this season and with the shift of the landscape, with our narrative, and with the input of the players, we're going to completely change the world dynamically like that, right? And it doesn't require 3 months of planning, development work, artists to create these concepts. we can just tell our trained AI model to do its thing and transform the world. So I think that's super exciting. And I think that's something that our players will enjoy as well, just kind of not knowing how the world's going to shift around them. And of course, I talked about autonomous agents, letting AI agents run wild around the land. So whether that be merchants or characters or even gods in the land, I think there's a lot to be experimented with how that can be applied to the gameplay as well. So yeah, in short, we were definitely experimenting with a lot of things, utilizing some of the kind of in-house proprietary models that we've worked with, and we're excited to deploy this to our world to see where things go.
Again, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to bounce off that a little bit. I love the call out on parallel colony. I think that's an kind of an obvious one at this point for people that are paying attention to the space. But yeah, the autonomous agents are really interesting because it's going to be pretty hands off, other than like giving them input, at least from what I've seen, which I think there's definitely a place for that. But what I'm excited about with AI in gaming is really its application with mobs and NPCs. I really want to see smarter mobs when you're in there playing. Like I can think back to World of Warcraft, tab target. You go up there, you shoot it, they fight back a little bit, but they do the same thing every time. I want to go into a game and have a mob know that it's about to die, go get help, come up with a strategy, and just like it's different every. You know what I mean? If the dynamic changes, if they're smart, that would be really cool to me, and that's what I'm hoping for to see in the future.
So, well, we got you up here. Well, why don't we do your individual question as well? So, Wonders has a really big focus on storytelling and lore. You guys have comics and short films, and they help set the stage for the Wonders universe. So, why do you think storytelling and lore is so important to the success of the game?
Yeah, 100%. Like you go into the game, you go through a run, you die, you learn a little bit more about the game, you go through it. So it's kind of designed for you to go through, play, die, and learn more about it. But we've been developing that lore just because there's so much more to get into, to get attached to as a fan of the game. Whenever there is a story and lore behind it, rather than just, oh hey, here's a game, come play it. And also, I think it's a lot of our genre as well with the roguelite. Um, it tends to be more of like a single player type genre, and with single player not having the PvP aspect right away type of thing, I think lore is extremely important. But UGC was called out a lot. That's a big part of it. It's going to be something where your community and your players will develop that. But I think having that base with comics and different things like that definitely helps.
Awesome. Yeah, we've definitely been experimenting with some of that stuff just because we're dealing with a lot of mobs and in our gameplay. And I don't know, Nick, if you have anything you want to say on that, feel free to jump in. But otherwise, we can move on to our next question.
Yeah, no, I think, I agree actually. I in terms of actual gameplay mechanics, making AI better for developers, mob mechanics, pathing mechanics, combat mechanics, choosing different animations dynamically for attacks, using kind of player type, PvP emulation in a sense, right? Where maybe you don't have PvP, but you have much, much better bosses, you have much, much better combat scenarios with enemy AI. I think AI is a very challenging part of AI, meaning like enemy AI is a very, very challenging part of game development, or at least has been for a very long time, and is probably one of the areas where we'll see kind of the acceleration of smaller studios being able to implement and create fairly complex game dynamics, just because it's one of those things where you kind of need experience, otherwise you're experimenting a lot. And I know we've experimented a lot over the past years with our AI, and sometimes you put one implementation and it breaks something else and it breaks something else. So I think part of AI for developers, there's a couple a couple models now that are working on, this sort of thing, mob mechanics and whatnot. But I'd love to see that as well. I think, having a really good standard, even something that's, like an Unreal plugin or a Unity plugin that you can just enable within your game, and it comes with all that, these basically smart enemies, right? I think that's going to be a really big upgrade, and I think a lot of games will incorporate it and then kind of have to really redesign a lot of their balancing, because it'll become kind of the new standard. I think it's part of what makes multiplayer games fun, is that you're always having a different experience, and it's hard to predict what the enemy is going to do. But then, yeah, I totally agree on the lore component as well. We're also, a single player roguelike right now, and one of the things that it's kind of one of the last steps, right? You have to have the game loop down, and then you can kind of layer the lore on top. But I think that lore is just such an important part of making an engaging experience for someone, especially when you don't have, like you said, that PvP element, that you can just say, hey, go play the same game 500 times, but your skills are going to get better, and the people you're playing against are going to be different. I think in theory, we will have both fairly soon, we meaning as an industry, with this AI making NPCs smarter. In fact, it could very easily get to the point with text to voice and voice clones and everything, where you could play a game where two or three of the players are real, and 50 of the others are just bots, and you're not going to be able to distinguish the bots from the players. At least the tech will be there. And I think that reality, in the not so long term, is going to be a big thing for game developers who do want to create more story based games, but still have that kind of new feel to each gameplay experience. And I'm definitely excited for. I think I'm just parroting what you said at this point, but I think it's all spot on.
Great. So I think we got time for one more question here. And maybe, Nick, you could actually start us off on this one. So what role do you think players will have in shaping the economies of Web3 games? And how might this change the gaming landscape overall?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question, right? Because game economies are something that have existed for a very long time, and personally, my enjoyment from playing a lot of games was specifically in the game economy. And so I think different players play games differently, and different people have a different reasons for why they love a certain game or not. And so, for just as a quick anecdote, I played when I was younger. I played a lot of RuneScape. I played a lot of Diablo 2. And what made those games great wasn't necessarily that they had great story or the questing, but what I really loved was how dynamic of a player economy they had. There were constantly people that you could be wheeling and dealing with. You could always be trying to do trades, upgrade your items. You find something, and even if you didn't need that something that you found, it had value because you could then go and barter it for something that you did want, right? And so you got excited about each thing that you got. The thing, though, is that those player economies were limited because they were closed economies, and a lot of stuff that people wanted to do, at that next level, was happening on kind of black market type of setups on forums in these trust based systems that we were talking about before. And I think what Web3 does is it provides an infrastructure layer to make all those trust-based transactions trustless, and open up the player economy. That said, we've also seen really, really vivid examples of how opening a player economy can break it, right? And I think the real money auction house in Diablo 3 was something that's probably going to cause Blizzard to never do anything like that again for a very long time, because of just the amount of thought that needed to go into what an open player economy looks like, and maybe the amount of thought that didn't go into it in that particular game, and it completely broke the player economy. And so I think we've seen very successful implementations of open player economies, where players, for example, skins, in like CSGO, the ability for them to be traded, bought, and sold. I think there's definitely a model that we know works with aesthetics. I think beyond aesthetics, there's going to need to be some experimentation on which models work. How do we open up a player economy and still, not have the inflation issue, not have the farming issues, not have, if the game is a grindy type game that kind of is every time you kill a boss you might find a really cool item. How do we prevent that item from being totally farmed and making it so that you could go and buy it for $2 because it's just being farmed all over the world, and the prices just crash, and it kind of takes away the appeal of the game. So I think that the question is how will players have what role? I think that realistically, we're all experimenting, and so I think the best way we can experiment is to put things out and get feedback, right? And to do this at a very micro level before we have some of the bigger issues that these major AAA games were having. Because, I think if a AAA, I think a lot of people kind of say, oh, yeah, Diablo 4, it would be so much cooler if everything was NFTs. And I'm a big believer in NFTs, but I think that would completely break the game, right? They didn't develop the game to be a game with an open player economy. In fact, it has a very, very closed economy for a reason, and it's kind of it's something I don't personally like, but it's there for a reason, right? So I guess what we're kind of in a fortunate position that, as indie devs and people and companies that are developing with their communities, we can experiment a bit, and we're part of this world where people expect us to experiment and innovate. And I think that as much as we are coming up with designs that we think would work, like our progression system is very progress based, right? So in theory, if you're buying an item, it's not that it's so much rarer and gives you this huge advantage. It's that someone's put a lot of work into leveling up that item or avatar or whatever it might be. And essentially you can pay to progress rather than pay to win, which was, I think, what broke Diablo 3, right? And I think that there's going to be different models like that. And it's really, I think the studios that really listen to their player base and adapt are the ones that are going to kind of figure out, at least to some extent, which are the sustainable models for open player economies. I don't think the solution is going to be, let's just slap Web3 on a Web2 player economy, because I just don't. We've seen too many instances where that doesn't work. And I don't think Web3 is going to really do that much to fix the issues that plagued some of those games. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my thought on that. I would be curious to know what the rest of the panel is thinking, because I know there's some other ways, like the skill-based wagers, which I think is just a completely new layer that we were talking about before, that is something you couldn't do in a Web2 game that you can kind of do now, pending regulatory, uncertainty there. But I think there's some cool stuff we can do now that we couldn't do then.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I like to call out on pay to win, because I think that's definitely something that should be avoided in open player economies, because a big reason I think CS2 or CSGO doesn't have it completely open, like it's Steam, it's Valve, they can control it, is for control. Like as soon as you have it on an open player economy, I mean, it's open, it's there, skins are tradable forever, it's out of your hands. So I think a big part of that's control. And even if I think even if they did do it, it would still work, just because skins aren't going to hurt like the game. But if you have like a gun and the stats are the best in the game and it's locked behind that paywall, it's of course going to go up, especially in an open player economy where the players are controlling it. They're going to farm that item. They're going to keep the price of that item really high. So I think avoiding pay to win is really important. And yeah, I think a big reason, like I said, that we're still seeing these closed economies is control. And I think maybe it's a little scary for some companies to kind of give that up, but I definitely think that's where we're headed, is complete ownership and open economies.
Yeah, I
Great.
totally agree. I mean,
Oh,
oh, sorry,
sorry,
we're
Nick.
wrapping up, right? We're about we're about on time.
Yeah, I was about to answer. Yeah. I was about to announce our winner.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yep. So our winner this week of 5 Satoshi's Crystals is Merilda, or at MerWYX. Congratulations. Nick, do you want to explain real quick how Merilda can claim her prize?
Yeah, so just a quick background. Satoshi's crystals are a both in-game and NFT resource that essentially power a vast part of our player customization of items, and things like re-rolling, reforging things, and all the cool stuff you can do in the game. So to claim it, you'll just need to create an account, which is where Allegiance 2029 account, which is where we will put the crystals, and then if you DM us with the account name, we can drop the crystals into that account. And then when you play the game, you'll be able to have the crystals to do some of that cool stuff. And if not, you can always mint the crystals, and they're NFTs, so you could do whatever you want with them.
Sweet. Well, congratulations, Merilda. Nick, do you want to close us out?
Yeah, definitely. This was a really cool panel, and I definitely want to have more of these panels, kind of diving into AI, because I just get super excited when I hear about new interesting use cases for AI and Web3. I mean, some really cool uh, concepts and crossover here that we discussed today that are definitely triggering some thoughts for me. So, as always, really enjoyed the panel. Thank you to all the guests who were on here. I hope you feel better. With the sickness, I know how that can be, and hopefully just some rest. But thank you for joining anyways, and being part of the discussion. Everyone who joined and listened, thank you. We do this every week, so if this was something that you were interested in, you want to hear more, we'll be doing this again next week. I think same time, same place. But if not, I guess really glad that all of you could join. Feel free. I'll pause now, so that anyone can say any closing remarks that they want. If you have like something that you're working on or promoting, feel free to chill it now, or let people know what's going on. But if not, once I hear silence, I'll wait like 30 seconds for the space. There's a little bit of a lag between the speakers and the listeners, and then I'll close the space. So thank you all for joining, and yeah, Chibi, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, no, definitely just want to thank you guys for organizing the space. Really enjoyed the panel. And like I said, like with AI, we can talk hours, if not days, about, all the exciting things that are happening. And I myself struggle to try to keep up with the latest that's happening in the space. I think we never assume that we're, in the forefront, because the space, takes shape so quickly, and things change so quickly. But with Chibi specifically, we're in the midst of our playtest. So if you go to our website, Enter Kingdoms, you can jump right into Survivor. The competition has been fierce. People have been enjoying the game quite a bit. Now, honestly, like I don't say this just because it's my project, but at GDC when we did the playtest, gotten a lot of comments from people saying that this is one of the few Web3 games that they really enjoy playing, and there's a lot of replayability. So as a game developer, I think couldn't think of better praise than that when people are enjoying the game and coming up to you to say that they enjoy it. So again, sounds weird to come directly from me, but I just want to share the excitement that I had down at GDC last week. And on the AI front, we'll be making more and more announcements regarding how kingdoms will take shape, how we will be deploying the autonomous agents to the land, and of course, you guys can look forward to hearing news about our eventual land sale, which we're still finalizing some of the details, but we'll be announcing probably within the next couple of weeks. And once again, thank you guys. And the Wanderer also, looking forward to seeing what you guys deliver in the months to come.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This was fun.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody.